All Sanchi material is copyrighted March 17, 2000 by me, Christian Weston Chandler. Any names or persons, except for myself, that may seem similar to anyone in real life or fiction are purely coincidental or otherwise parodic.
The ego is one of those aspects of the person that people often have trouble with. The word ego is normally used in reference to someone's overindulgence in themselves, also known as narcissism or egotism. The line between overindulgence in the self and egotism is very blurry. However, most people tend to land on the rational side, although this is definitely not the case when it comes to Christian Weston Chandler. Chris Chan, which is how he's known on the internet to his many fans, is a talented artist and a fringe musician, alongside a moral, religiously devout man. He's produced countless artistic masterpieces, from his first successful music album, Kristen and the Hedgehog Boys, to his long-lasting comic book series, Sonichu. But despite all of this artistic talent, he was still unable to ever get himself a boyfriend-free girl to turn into a soulmate, which often demotivates his vastly powerful artistic mind, leaving him to do nothing for many months. But besides that, Chris Chan is truly a role model to all the young boys and girls in the world. We should all look up to him as a beacon of artistic and musical inspiration. Alright, so everything I just said there was a very warped view of reality. Firstly, Chris Chan's art is awful. It looks like it was produced by an intoxicated 6-year-old. It objectively fails on so many levels that this video would have to be 5 hours long if we were to cover all of them. His storytelling in his comics as well is incredibly shoddy, and the actual language used in it is very inappropriate at times, and there's tons of spelling mistakes. Secondly, his music isn't even original music. He just shouts over pre-existing songs with lyrics and tries to rewrite them with new lyrics that represent his real life. This means that listening to Chris Chan's songs is like listening to two songs at once, one being the original track he's shouting over, and the other being his voice trying to shout separate words.
Without a fire but a desire.
And thirdly, his moral decisions and understanding are questionable at best.
I've had only few male acquaintances, and they definitely turn me off, the majority of them, because they are rude, crude, and inconsiderate.
But anyways, this video is not gonna focus a lot on Chris Chan himself. Instead, I'm gonna be talking about his enemies, the trolls. It's not difficult to understand why someone like Chris Chan is such an incredibly large target for internet trolls. Any artistic skills he has are poor, his social performances are awful, and he's generally an awkward person, which is very easy to make fun of on the internet. The biggest target for trolling when it comes to Chris Chan is, of course, his greatest insecurity, the fact that he doesn't have any kind of partner. Time and time again, the single most iconic moments of Chris Chan's history on the internet are related to him and his obsession with finding a boyfriend-free girl. For example, a 13-year-old troll created the false character of Julie, which was a girl that was supposedly interested in dating Chris Chan. This was one of the many trolling sagas that involved creating a false woman to then lure Chris Chan in to then make him do incredibly embarrassing things on camera. These false women, often portrayed by numerous trolls, were nicknamed gal pals, after a term that Chris Chan himself used. Apart from catfishing Chris with a false online gal pal, there's also the far more crude practice of making unflattering and gay fan art for Chris Chan's creations. This is a far more rudimentary form of trolling. Just draw a very gory or inappropriate image involving someone's characters or creations, and then send it to them on email and wait for the reactions. This plays greatly on Chris Chan's strong obsession with his original characters. To Chris Chan, Sonichu is like a son, so to see him in all these compromising and unflattering situations definitely makes him a little angry. With the passing of time, trolling attempts got more and more elaborate, involving real-life meetings with Chris Chan and, of course, that iconic man in the pickle suit. Trolls are playing more and more with Chris Chan's emotions, his hopes and dreams, his obsessions with his characters, and of course, his everlasting love quest. However, there's one troll, one type of manipulation, one type of torment that I'm forgetting to mention. While other trolls are perfectly content with watching Chris Chan drink his own semen or fornicate with a PS3, this troll was very different. He had no real endgame, explicit blackmail, or other features that were common in Chris Chan trolling. He was a very different person, and he was able to get something out of Chris that no one was before. He was able to make Chris Chan understand his biggest flaw, his egotism. Let's start with a quick recap of everything that happened before the introduction of Liquid Chris. Chris Chan was originally discovered on the Something Awful forums. His claim to fame is his love quest, essentially a series of loitering activities where he tried to solicit women into making love to him. Trolls toyed with this by essentially creating lots of false female characters that then get Chris to do very unflattering things. This all culminates with the creation of an entire new subculture on the internet, a subculture obsessed with Chris Chan, whether that be for the best or for the worst. And this is where Liquid Chris comes into play. Christopher Duckworth was a teenager interested in Chris Chan, and one day he decided to open up a new YouTube account focused entirely on making parody videos of Chris Chan to entertain his friends. He stated, in his best Chris Chan impersonation, that he was indeed the original Christian Weston Chandler, the true and honest one, and that he was finally back to YouTube after those nasty hackers and trolls had taken down his original account. In the meantime, the real Chris Chan had just gotten his YouTube channel deleted for posting the real-life home addresses of some trolls in a video. This prompted Chris to create a new channel under the username IBA Chandler. While this was, of course, just a play on words, trolls instead interpreted this as a name. More specifically, Ian Brandon Anderson. This Ian Brandon Anderson name was used by opposite sides to label the other one as an imposter.
I would like to address the imposter, Ian Brandon Anderson, for a moment.
As these sarcastic YouTube comments kept piling up and up, Chris Chan soon became aware of the existence of the imposter. On the 21st of July 2009, Liquid Chris uploaded a video where he talked about selling Sonichu merchandise. Despite never having interacted with Liquid Chris before, the real Solid Chris, as he was now known, posted very threatening comments in the description of Liquid Chris's video where he talked about Sonichu merchandise. Like I said before, to the real Chris Chan, Sonichu is like a son, so seeing him being used by different people definitely makes him very angry. However, from the beginning here, it was apparent that Liquid Chris was very different from other trolls. He got to Chris much more and much faster than other trolls did. And now that the real Chris Chan had discovered him, it was time for Liquid Chris to finally show his full force. It all started when Solid Chris uploaded a video of him singing the song More Than Feeling to YouTube. Now this was actually a re-upload, and he wasn't really playing the song, he was just playing it on Guitar Hero. So logically, Liquid Chris responded by playing the actual song on guitar. After seeing this rebuttal, Solid Chris decided to start speaking Spanish in the video, and claimed that only the original Chris Chan would know how to speak Spanish. Liquid Chris responded by speaking Spanish, German, French, and Japanese in one video.
Hola, este es el verdadero Ricardo Weston Chandler. Je parle aussi français. Soy lang Foundation. Asoniwa Tadashi Chris.
Then Chris Chan issued a challenge, the Sing Start Challenge, to Liquid Chris. Just like they sorta did before, the two would battle it out with music. There were 5 rounds, and for each round, both Solid and Liquid would pick a song to play. They would then film themselves playing that song and upload it to YouTube. The result of this contest is pretty unsurprising. Liquid Chris won because of his superior musical talent.
The winner of the Sing Star Challenge contest because your judges not followed any rules. My judges have been following the rules and giving me scores. Therefore, because you have no scores, you're out of the running, and I am the true Christian Weston Chandler.
After winning the contest, Liquid announced that he'd landed a job at Microsoft to develop Sonichu games, and that Sonichu was going to be produced into an actual comic by the publisher Dark Horse. These, of course, were lies just to make Solid Chris angry. However, there was one true occurrence that he announced, the fact that he had finally found a sweetheart, Kacey. On August 9th, there was a voice call between Solid and Liquid Chris, where they discussed the imposter. This led to a lot of shouting and anger, especially from Solid Chris. And just a few days later, on the 14th of August, Liquid Chris uploaded a video where he talked about how he had grown up. He was going to be leaving YouTube forever so he can work on his beloved Sonichu series.
Hello, my loyal fan base. Today is you may be noticing that I am wearing a different shirt. By all means, do not get your tidies in a knot, for it is a symbol of success. First of all, I thank my sweet Kacey for saying yes to marrying me. And it's but a given that we will live our whole lives together forever. I got the job there as the production manager and the game designer of the official games. Yeah, with the assistance of my true and original characters Sonichu and Rosechu and their world, I am now taking the first steps to growing up.
This only lasted one day, and on the 15th, a parody video was uploaded on the channel where it showed Liquid Chris being tied up by who was supposedly meant to be Solid Chris in some kind of staged kidnapping.
Tell them your name.
Christian Weston Chandler.
Are you the real Christian?
Yes.
No!
Yes.
No!
Many months passed, and it was only until October that Liquid Chris would return. In his video, Liquid Chris claims that his supposed absence had led to a love triangle forming between him, Kacey, and Solid Chris. This, indeed, had actually happened. Solid Chris had tried to convince Kacey that he was, indeed, the original Christian Weston Chandler. Kacey, who was also a troll, played along, and the two kept messaging and calling as if they were actually in a relationship.
Hey, Kacey. It's me. Sorry that my computer seems to be acting up. But, you know, sometimes this will happen, but, you know, just give me this shout out, I promised. I love you, Kacey.
But now that Liquid Chris was back, it was time for a showdown. It all culminated in November when Chris Chan had a phone call with Kacey and her supposed father. This phone call is probably one of the most emotionally charged things related to Chris Chan, and I really do think that it should speak for itself. So I've left a link to it in the description if you want to listen to it. So that was the end of Liquid Chris. What started as a simple parody to entertain some friends soon turned into the greatest trolling saga ever. But what makes this different from any of the other trolling attempts with Chris Chan? What makes Liquid Chris any special? Now this brings us all the way back to the beginning of the video, where I talked about the ego. Unlike so many other trolls that attack Chris's insecurities, Liquid Chris and Kacey are instead deconstructions of his ego. Everything Chris Chan claims to be, a talented artist, a good musician, and a tolerant and moral person, Liquid Chris actually is. And I don't think people realize the extent to which the real Chris Chan was oblivious to a lot of this. I think this quote from the Quickie, which is a Chris Chan dedicated Wikipedia, sums it up pretty well. It's a bad sign when one is fighting a mirror, and worse when the mirror is winning. Worse still, if it's a funhouse mirror made especially to mock you. In his mere existence, Liquid Chris, as a more talented and successful version of Chris Chan, makes the real Chris Chan seethe with rage. That's why he was so easily provoked when he first found out about him. In his impression of Chris Chan, Liquid Chris was actually doing a better job than the real Chris Chan. And when it comes to someone as delusional and egotistical as Chris Chan, there's nothing better for a troll to do than to break it all down.
Without a fire, but a desire to not hear you say I have a boyfriend.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Wide But World. If you want to see more, then leave a comment in the description.